Okay. All right. So we're gonna sing sing another song, and this is called "Everything Is Sacred." It's by one of my favorite New Thought artists, Denise Rosier. She has so many amazing songs, but "Everything Is Sacred" just really speaks to me right now. Because there's so much going on and it's hard to remember sometimes that everything is truly sacred. Okay. Everything is sacred. Everything is filled with the divine. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a wonder, unfolding right before our eyes. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything's a blessing, bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everyone is sacred. Everyone is filled with the divine. Everyone is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everything is a blessing, bursting from the earth and sky. Everything is alive with spirit, with spirit. Everyone is sacred. Everyone is filled with the divine. Everyone is alive with spirit, with spirit. We are alive. We are alive with spirit. We are alive. We are alive with spirit. Everything is sacred. Everything is sacred. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, David. Thanks, guys. So, yeah, so I came today to talk about, my talk title is Tapestry. And I'm gonna have to move the computer back so it's straight. You can move over if you want. Let me just get things arranged here. So there's a couple of synchronicities today that are striking me. Um, earlier, where's my camera? Right there, I think. Trying to make it look like I'm looking at you, but I'm not. But for those who came in a little bit later, and good morning to all of you who did. Um, Leon was talking about losing his dear brother, and just recently. And one of the things that I'm talking about in my talk is a very good friend of mine losing his brother. Um, and choosing Amazing Grace at the last minute, talking about blindness, that's also in my talk. So there's some synchronicities piling up here. I think that's always a good sign. My talk title is Tapestry. And when I when I first started thinking about what I was going to say, I was going to call it like putting together the pieces, like pieces of a puzzle, or like Humpty Dumpty. But then I had a talk with my dear friend Maurice about his late brother Grady, who I've never met, and I've never even seen a picture of him. But when I listened to Maurice talking about him, I really wish that I had known him. Maurice does an imitation of him that's really very funny. But to hear him describe his beloved brother, and I'm not going to try that, but to hear him describe his brother as a huge gay Black man who made Maurice laugh, as Maurice makes me laugh just talking about him. And just mentioning his name brings a smile to Maurice's lips. So how beautiful is that? Grady passed over a few years ago, and I know it was a huge loss for my friend to lose his brother, but he has these precious memories. He was telling me more about Grady when I expressed curiosity recently. And one of the things he said was that Grady had memorized the entire album by Carole King called Tapestry. Is anybody familiar with that album? Can you raise your hand? Yeah, okay. Yeah, a lot of you. So I didn't. So I see more hands. Cool, cool. That'll help you understand what I'm talking about when I say that Maurice said his brother knew that entire album by heart. And if you can picture somebody, as Maurice describes his brother, belting out, like, "You make me feel like a natural woman." Well, apparently Grady is still making people laugh, like Maurice did when he was telling me the story. So I took inspiration from that, and Tapestry became my talk title. And it's a much more apt description for what I want to say. Pieces of a puzzle has kind of an image of brokenness, of something that isn't whole, or even worse, poor Humpty Dumpty couldn't even be put back together again. So speaking of pieces of a puzzle, in my job as an orientation and mobility specialist, I teach blind and vision impaired people how to get around in their communities more safely and independently. I often talk about clues. So a clue is just some kind of a indication, some sound or something that you find with your cane that helps you understand where you are. They listen and feel for clues that they put together to equal a whole picture. As an example, when walking down the sidewalk, somebody has to differentiate between the slope of a driveway and the slope of a wheelchair ramp. So it might sound like a small thing, but what are the consequences of mistaking a driveway for an intersection, right? I would ask everybody this, but y'all are mooted, so I'll just tell you the answer. If you think it's a driveway and it's not, it's a street, you can imagine the danger that that would pose. And in the reverse, if you're crossing a street and you think it's a driveway, well, it's automatically, you're automatically disoriented. You have not crossed a street that you thought you did. So you're not where you think you are. So in the absence of visual cues, it can be hard to tell the difference, and I help people understand what to look for. So like the angle of the slope. A driveway is sloping to the side most of the time, where a wheelchair ramp is sloping more forward direction. And there's several other things that people can look for if they're not sure. But if you look at just one of those clues, then you might miss the big picture, because there can be sideways sloping wheelchair ramps. You get the idea. It's like it takes multiple things in order to get the whole picture. So, so in this life, I think that we all get clues. I think we get clues to our path, clues to our truth, clues that reveal something meaningful to us. And we have to be looking for them to intentionally seek our inner and outer truth, clues to know ourselves better, which is perhaps the ultimate goal, clues to universal truth, and clues to the great mystery that surrounds and pervades everything. People by nature want to think they have the answers. And I understand that. Certainty is an antidote to fear. Everyone suffers from uncertainty and the fear of the unknown. And one way to deal with that is to delete the fear by becoming utterly convinced of the reality of something that we have actually no way of knowing. From fundamentalists of any religion to atheists to extremists of all ilks to racists, stereotypes, and generalizations, from the dangerous to the annoying, people need to be able to make sense of their world and escape the fear. And I believe that this false knowing is one of the ways they do it. So I have in my family a fundamentalist Christian and an atheist in my immediate family, and the atheist is married to an agnostic Jew. So I have an interesting dynamic to observe over the years and how this phenomena plays out. I used to feel massive conflict about religion and a lot of anger, although I became an atheist in college. I gradually changed my views about religion and I worked to make peace with these extremes because I love my family and I want to understand. What I've decided is this. Fundies, as I affectionately call them now, they need a kind of a ticket to heaven, right? It's just easier to think that by ascribing to a certain religion, one can meet their admittance criteria. There's power structures behind the belief that any one religion has a monopoly on truth. It's complicated, more complicated than that. But my point is that all of these very human and understandable needs of utmost importance are to create a sense of security and knowledge about the world and the really uncontrollable forces that surround us. It seems to be human nature to want to have or to think we have all the answers. So though they appear to be opposites, I put atheists and fundamentalists in the same camp because they both think they have the final say on the unknowable, right? Now we can have our beliefs and there's nothing wrong with that. But how invested are you in the universe conforming to that, right? Or do you have the thought that it's possible that you're wrong, that there's room for something bigger, something greater that you haven't been able to conceive of? I think having doubt about that is healthy, and even embracing the mystery. Think about like embracing the mystery and dwelling with greater and greater levels of comfort in the uncertainty, in the unknown, and how much comfort that would bring. So I think that is actually the true antidote, and one that leaves the door open to awe and wonder at the unknown blessings that exist. And we don't want to close the door on that. So some thoughts on how to reconcile the tension between doubt and fear and certainty and knowing. And I believe the answer lies, at least partially, in faith, that faith is the opposite of fear. I believe in the most common phrase in the Bible. If there's one concept that the Bible hammers home, it is do not fear. That is the single most repeated phrase in various ways in the Bible. And I think that is part of its true message, that we don't really have anything to fear. So it is our task to overcome fear and to turn with courage within, which is what I see as the true and mystical purpose of the Bible and Jesus's teachings, using faith and inner vision, using faith and inner revelation to embody love and light. As a dedicated inward journeyer myself, I look for inspiration in the wise and enlightened words of others that call to my heart, including in the Bible. And I'm always looking to be moved in the right direction. I'm a collector of quotes, and hardly a day goes by that I'm not reminded of some of those that I've adopted as my guiding principles, using these words as clues to the universe. To begin with, I'm just going to read some of my favorites, many of which you may have heard from me in past talks. Our task is not merely to seek for love, but to seek and find all the barriers we have built against it. Rumi. The truth will set you free. We all know where that one comes from. Mind is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind, and evermore he takes, the tool of thought and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. Environment is but his looking glass. And that's James Allen in As a Man Thinketh. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. From the Gospel of Thomas, verse 70. So the words and concepts that call to my heart are some of the clues that lead me toward my truth. But the way to inner truth is not all glorious and lofty. To get to the nitty-gritty, we have to get down and start digging, right? Discovering the clues to our being, the barriers to love, who and how we are, pardon me, inwardly and outwardly, are ironically the things that are the most hidden from ourselves. Ourself is the thing that's the most hidden from ourselves, right? Hard to believe like our own 3-pound universe up there could be the greatest mystery, but I find that to be true. The amount of work it can take to uncover these deepest of secrets is astounding, and it can be expensive. Delving into the ego, facing oneself, is the greatest of unknowns. And in their fear, I would say most people put an equal amount of energy and resources into avoiding it and running in the opposite direction. So another quote, for the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. And that's Matthew 7:14. But I've learned not to run and not to be afraid, because the truth will set me free. And the truth has set me free from a lot. They say truth hurts, and it kind of does. But that's not the intent, not the way people mean it when they say it with malice, certainly. The truth does hurt, but in the way I intend it, the way I believe the Bible and enlightened people who have gone before intend it, it's to free it from its chains in the psyche and deep within our souls. And it only hurts momentarily. A realized buried pain brought to the light is like, my analogy is like an infected wound that you squeeze, and it hurts worse at first, but the pressure is relieved and the healing can begin. Non-judgmental awareness alone does the healing. That's a quote from my mentor, Mary Elizabeth Lynch. And I'm here to say that that is the prize, that a buried truth, expressed, purged, sobbed out, and sometimes laughed out with a glee that I call the Scrooge the morning after effect. Like Alastair Sims, that's my favorite version, scaring the cleaning lady, go, I mean, I have experienced that too. And it's quite something, that freedom that can be expressed. So these truths that are brought to awareness is really something that goes right to your core, and that's the gold that we're digging for. Sorry, I'm being a little distracted. Only by much searching and mining are gold and diamonds obtained, and man can find every truth connected with his being if he will dig deep into the mine of his soul. And that's James Allen again in As a Man Thinketh. And it's a book from like the late 1800s. So that's why it's all, man and he, but, we know we're talking about everybody. Another quote by Khalil Gibran: "Your hearts know in silence the secrets of the days and the nights, but your ears thirst for the sound of your heart's knowledge. You would know in words that which you have always known in thought, and you would touch with your fingers the naked body of your dreams, and it is well you should." These beautiful, mystical, and healing truths are like a salve to ease the way for us, for the entire universe knows the way, and it is trying to show us so many paths that have been paved by those who've gone before. Another clue to ourselves is what bothers us the most about other people. My friends, those of us on this inner journey, look for yourself and others with great intention. These are huge clues. How many times have we heard others state some complaint about someone else, and you're looking at them thinking, and maybe even saying, you do that too, right? But usually we don't think of it in terms of ourselves when we feel annoyed by somebody else. That's a great opportunity to turn that mirror around and say, well, what is it that's triggering in me? Maybe, you have it and maybe you don't, but I find that to be a very big clue. And the Bible has something to say about this too. Hypocrite, and the Bible can be a little harsh. Hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Okay. Matthew 7:5. That's one of my favorites. To weave all this together, creating our tapestry, each one of these buried truths, each flaw we see in others that we own, every negative or critical thought that we hold against ourselves or others, each judgment, resentment, condemnation, inward and outward, is a barrier to love. Our task is to uncover love by seeking and finding each of our buried truths. When brought to light, heals and brings our pieces back together again, to bring us ever closer to the beauty within. So there really is hope for Humpty Dumpty. So the skeptic might say of all this that it's nothing but philosophy, and on some level they might be right. Most of us are great philosophers and maybe not as great at weaving truths into our being. But the truth of that statement depends on the person saying it. So in other words, just saying it makes it true, right? You are what you believe. The skeptic hasn't even taken the first step, whereas the philosopher is at least on the path. I am nothing if not practical. And one of the tools I've used often in my life to help weave in a new belief is to ask myself this: if I really believed that, what would I say or do differently? So for those truths that really speak to you, that's a helpful tool. This returns the focus to where it belongs too. It's not for me to say what's right for someone else. This is all about yourself, myself and yourself. I saw a cartoon recently of a scene in a library. And there was one man standing in the self-help section, and there was a whole crowd of people in the fixing others section. So true. This made me laugh because, of course, we all see ourselves in that scene. That focus on what's wrong with others and the world, that's part of the trap, no? One of the barriers to love. We can philosophize all day long, but until we begin to feel the joy that is unearthed when we free ourselves from the weight of all the muck and weeds we wade through, then we can see the joy and laughter, weaving a tapestry of truth that lights and guides the way, as Maurice's Angel Grady is doing now. Our angels help us all see the humor in life as we bravely face that which is within us, because we can take ourselves too seriously, and I'm like, number one for that. So thank you, Grady, for making us laugh, and thank you for the inspiration for my talk. And You know, the inner journey is really the only way to deeper truth. And whether you have to travel thousands of miles to an ashram or spend thousands of dollars on inner work, it is a journey worth taking. And there's another final quote that I want to share with you, which is a Sioux Indian saying: "The longest journey you will make in your life is from your head to your heart." Amen. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you.